Okay, so I did a little bit of research on Papyrus. I talked to you a little bit through Discord, and I grabbed some photo reference so that we can take a look together at who Papyrus is and who Skeletor is, and we can figure out something. Okay. So, based on what I found, Papyrus is from Undertale. We both know that. Undertale seems to be like a text-driven RPG where Papyrus he's like a comedic foil of a villain. The whole video game is tongue-in-cheek. It's very satirical. It's funny. I'm not saying anything that's wrong. So I'm just pointing out what my discovery is, like what I found when I did my research. So in order to understand Papyrus and what he's like as a character, I grabbed some photo reference and I put it on an actual layer, and then I grabbed a bunch of them, put them into a folder called reference, and I can switch that reference folder on and off by just clicking on the eye. Usually, if you use programs like Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, the eye means that layer can be seen. So when you click on the eye and it disappears, that layer can't be seen. And you can collect a bunch of layers and put them into a folder, and they're on their own layer. But it's a folder. Now, here are some poses of Papyrus. You get to see that he's a little sassy. He's overconfident. He's very sure of himself. But he's a funny, over-the-top sort of pseudo-villain. Now here, we see the color scheme, the color layout for Papyrus. He's got a skull for head. It's basically, he looks like a skeleton with chest armor and a pair of underpants, and he's wearing boots, and he's got a cape. And he uses a lot of bone attacks. You can see them right there in that photo image. There's bones in the ground. He uses them. I guess that sends them at people based on the couple of videos that I watched. And those are his attacks. He does continuously mention spaghetti. So here I grabbed, it looks like fan art of Papyrus eating a bowl of spaghetti. I'll get to that. Now we scroll up and we see Skeletor. Now, let's go to Skeletor's lair. Alright, so that's Skeletor's lair. We're gonna pull back, enlarge Skeletor, and move him over. Okay, so we can take a look at Skeletor. Alright, now, there's a lot to Skeletor. There's a lot of mythos, there's a lot of backstory to him. I mean, you have to, well, I prefer to take that into account when I look at characters like this. You see, Skeletor, based on the mythology, used to be a member of Hordak's Horde. He was the magician for King Randor. He was also an opposing force to the sorceress of Castle Grayskull. Now, if you look down at his weapons, he has his staff. I think it's the Staff of Chaos is what they call it. He has a battle axe, he has a sword of power, and he has another sword. Now this is the photo image that I chose was, it's like a high quality action figure. These are the ones that go like a couple $100. Usually they're the most articulate, you can use them, yada yada yada. This Skeletor is more based on the one that I grew up with, and it combines the one that they had at the HBO remake that Kevin Smith did a couple years ago. And those are really good. Well, I like them. Now, when I was way younger than you, I want to say 8 or 9, He-Man came out. And He-Man came out, and it was in direct opposition to the Star Wars stuff. Now, I'm telling you this because it's a lot of detail based on this character, and like I said, I like to know the history of a character so I can design a print and draw them properly. It's an honor debt, really, in my eyes. Like, I can't just draw a character. Like, I have to know about them so I can draw them properly, so it's more believable when I make the print that people see it and they go, oh yeah, that character could do that. So, originally when they came out, it was in direct opposition to all the space toys that were coming out at the time, like Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and like Black Star and all of this other stuff. So He-Man came out and Mattel had the license for it, and they were just like, make this toy, make a bunch of them. And they did. And they didn't have a backstory for it. So what they did was they made these little comic books that told the story of He-Man and all the other figures. Now the main battle that was going on was that Skeletor wanted to be the Sorcerer Supreme of the planet that they lived on, Etheria. I think that's what the name of the planet was. Definitely wasn't Endor, because that's the forest moon that the Ewoks live on. They're little cannibal teddy bears, but that's another story for another time. So the only way that you could become the Sorcerer Supreme, or like the head sorcerer, like the big magician person on Etheria, was to kill the sorceress after you got into Castle Grayskull. And when you get into Castle Grayskull reveals all of its secrets regarding magic and knowledge to whoever gets inside. The only way you could get inside was if you had both halves of the Sword of Power. And you had to combine them, and it turned into a key that you would use to unlock the door to get into Castle Grayskull. Now, He-Man had one half of it, and Skeletor had the other half. He-Man's sword was gray. Skeletor's sword was blue. And when you combine them, it was the key. Like, that's it. Boop, you're in Castle Grayskull. So that's why Skeletor's sword looks like He-Man's sword. Over the years, they made it so the Filmation cartoon made it look like He-Man just had one sword. That's it. Skeletor's trying to get in and take out the sorceress and get all the secrets. That's because the cartoon is a little bit watered down. He-Man was very brutal. Skeletor was very maniacal. The comic books that came with the action figure were crazy. They were off the chain. I remember as an 8-year-old reading those things and being like, they're really graphic. But more to the point, let's get back to this. Okay, so taking all of these characters into account, what we want to do first is we want to establish the background. Where are they going to fight? You and I discussed it, and you had mentioned snow. You want them fighting in snow. Great. No better and dynamic and dramatic place can you find snow than on a mountaintop. There's a lot of drama that goes on mountaintops. Now, in order to force the drama, what you can do is you can change the camera angles. If you just do a flat on, let me show you this. If you just do a flat on drawing, like, hey, look, it's like this. That's boring. Yeah, you see it, you see the action, but you don't feel it. And you feel it with your eyes. You see it, and the camera angles get forced, and you begin to feel it. So let's say they're fighting, okay? One guy you have to kind of feel that one guy is smaller than the other. So this guy, the camera will like angle, and you're getting lower. And then the other guy will be up here, and he'll be bigger. So it looks like a power struggle. Small guy's looking up, and you're rooting for the small guy, and then big guy is over him. And You think big guy is going to win, but that's not normally how it works out. So we force the angles, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the sketch layer, or over, and I'm going to create something called a guide. Now, go back to the palettes, and we'll grab purple, because purple makes a great color to throw your guides on. It's nondescript. It doesn't hurt your eyes, but it's there and you can see it. Now, in that we're going to force the angles, we have to keep things in mind, like the horizon line. Now, the horizon line, it doesn't seem important, but honestly it is. The horizon line is where the sky meets the land. That's always the horizon line. Now, you can imply drama with the horizon line. Now, I'm going to show you how we can do that. See, if you take the horizon line and you just run it straight across, boring, right? But let's say the horizon line goes like that, because you're looking up the mountainside in the snow, and that's going to create more drama. Now, you want to force the perspective, and perspective is when things get smaller as they go away, but bigger as they point to you. So like this. See, the finger is bigger, but as you get back, the hand gets smaller. Does that make sense? And if you look at it, if you look at your own finger, see, your own finger is pretty big right here, but it gets smaller as it goes away. So we're going to add in perspective lines so that you get a frame of reference. Okay. It's going to go like that. Just like that. That's going to be the perspective. Big to small. We're going to trick people's eyes into seeing things the way that you want to see them. Now, in that it's on a hillside, it could be flat. You could have it flat, but psychologically that doesn't create much drama. So we'll drop the guides a little bit. We'll say 50%. And then we'll go to the sketch layer. Now, you've established a framework. You know where your horizon line is, where your perspective is. Now you have to draw your background. And I get it. You want to jump right into the characters, but you have to create where they are before you create them. Now, we're going to go and grab, let's say, the green. Okay? We're going to grab the green color. Now, it's on a hillside, but we're going to do something crazy, okay? I'm going to show you in just a little bit. So here's the snowy hillside. And there's your perspective. There's your... You're going like this. Now, put a few trees like that. Now, like I said, this is a rough. So you're just making loose lines that guide you so you remember, okay, this is where it goes. It's like shorthand visual notes. Now, you want this, you want to do the hillside, right? And nothing says dramatic like somebody caught in a hole, or somebody's below and there's cliffs ahead, cliffs overhead, right? So what we're gonna do is there's your snow, and there's your hillside. So you're looking up, and your perspective's going like this. And yeah, you could put a few trees, maybe. I'll show you how to do those. This big old Bob Ross. There you go. Now, remember I told you it's important to know the mythology? I didn't find anything about where Papyrus's headquarters were. But I do know that Skeletor lives in Snake Mountain. You can always get photo references of Snake Mountain so you know what it looks like, okay? And you want to keep that in perspective, and it's going to come in really handy, I promise you. And then this is going to look kind of chaotic. We're going to make these swirly, very dramatic clouds up here, and it's going to fade. You're going to have all dark colors on the outside, and it's going to fade down to like burny colors, right? But that's later. That's me planning out the color palettes. Now, there's that. So you got Papyrus. You want to put Papyrus in there, and you want to do Skeletor. Let's save this, okay? Where's the desktop? I think... We'll just save that to the desktop. I saved it as Matt's print, okay? Now, you're going to want to add... well, I would choose to add another layer. Character Z. Again, we'll drop it. We'll go grab the blue, and then we'll turn on the reference, and we'll take a look at Papyrus. Okay. So, Papyrus has bone-based attacks, right? And then remember the perspective. So we're calling this, the perspective we're using is called a worm's eye view, because the camera is down low and it's looking up. And when you force perspective like that, it's usually done to make viewers feel a certain way or look at things a certain way. Now, the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm trying to imply that Papyrus down here is the least powerful of the characters. And I get it. You might be offended when you hear that. But there is a reason for it. There's a reason why I did that. See? Papyrus, bones. Right? You add a couple bones in here. I'm going to show you shortcuts as to how we can make that work. Okay. Now Papyrus is down there with the bones, and he's looking up. So we're going to see this. This is just a stick figure. I'm going to do this, and then remember the figure I had earlier? We're going to use him for reference. All right. So we're just going to do this. This, and then he's going to pose dramatically. He's looking up, so we bend him a little bit. Okay? Now, from the back, you see him bending. Maybe with the light behind me, it's a little difficult, but you see him bending and he's looking up. So I take him and I look at him, and I take my glasses off because I'm getting old and sometimes my eyes. So you do this. He's looking up. Shoulders are here. Waist should be here. He's got that barrel chest with a spine. And that. And then there's a bone, but we're going to steep that leg just a little bit. And then the boot. And then this goes like this. Okay. That. I'm not sure if he has a sword, but we can always throw his arm out just a little bit and then give him a sword. But I got a treat for you, and I think you're going to like this. Over here, arm goes like this, hand comes up, and the bowl. He's holding a bowl in his hand, and it's slightly tilted so that you can see there's spaghetti inside. And then it's hot spaghetti. So there's steam coming off the plate, or the bowl. Now, there's a reason why he's standing like that, and he's looking up. See, he's looking up, and maybe he feels a little powerless, because maybe he thinks Skeletor is more powerful than him, but looking up makes him hopeful. When you go from low to high, sometimes you can imply hope, especially if the colors are brighter in the direction that the eye travels. If it goes from dark to light, it implies hope. Now the spaghetti is because he mentions spaghetti all the time. And the sword, well, again, I don't know if he has a sword or if he fights with a sword, but why not? And I'll even make it a bone sword, just so it falls in line with his bone attacks. Now he's kind of crouched down. And the crouch down is it's an animation technique called stretch and squash. And it's anticipation of spent energy. It's like when you take a spring and you coil it down, it's the energy is building up and you're anticipating that energy being released so that the spring flies forward. And it's an animation technique called stretch and squash. Stretch and squash. And you'll see it if you ever study that ball bouncing by Kimball. Ward Kimball. Again. So, spaghetti, bone sword, he's crouched down, and you're anticipating that he's going to lunge at Skeletor, and this fight's going to happen. And going from low to, I don't think he can do it, he's the underdog, to high, to, yeah, he's going to do it. Now, Skeletor, we're going to figure out how to pose Skeletor. Okay? And then again, this is going to be just kind of a rough. Okay, so we're going to put Skeletor like he normally is. He's very pompous. Okay, and it's going to go like this, because those are the way the perspective lines run, remember? You want to keep your perspective. Always keep it. Because if the first time you break it, you lose all believability. This is a self-contained universe on a sheet of paper, and it sounds really heady and like it's a lot of responsibility. And in truth, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. We're having fun with it, but these are things you should keep in mind, and they come with a lot of practice. And this is all me showing you things that are shortcuts with a lot of knowledge involved. Okay? Experience, and all that. Okay, so Skeletor's staff of chaos, is taller than him. So we gotta get it a little higher than him. And it's got like those horns on it. We'll figure that out. It goes like that, and he's got his hand, and then his elbow comes out. And then his waist is like that, and then his legs, boop, boop, and his little foot. Skeletor, he's got like claws on his toes. I don't know, maybe the guy's never heard of a pedicure. I don't know. Now he's got a shoulder. And this is going to be tricky. Sword. Pointing down. Using the perspective lines because that straight down didn't work. It's going to get bigger. And he's pointing at Papyrus. Hand gets bigger as it comes down. The shoulder stays up there, and Skeletor's head stays up there. Now, when I drew that spaghetti, I drew the steam going this way. Scientifically, if I drew the steam going that way, what that means is the wind is blowing as the page, left to right, west to east. So that means anything in this page that I'm drawing that requires movement from the wind, sand, snow, capes, have to be flowing that way. Because again, if I change it, you lose the believability. And you know what I'm finding is, like, a lot of people, when they draw capes, the heroes' ends of the capes go up, the villains go over and down. I don't know why, but it just seems more diabolical to me to have a cape folded over and down. Alright, so this is what we've got so far. This right here. I'm going to save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this video so that you can see how to set up your print. And then as I move along, I'll make more videos so you can see how these get done. I hope this helps you. And again, if you get overwhelmed with certain parts of it, pause. Chill out. Come back to it. This is like Moby Dick. You don't have to read it, but about one page at a time. I hope this helped you, buddy.